Brian North, how are you?
I'm alive and kicking.
Brian, like myself, this week when we're doing this vacation. Now I'm working. It's a working vacation at the Working
Right.
Man's Beach. For North, he's outdoors. I love this beard going. By the way,
Yeah.
you look. It's tough to pull the beard off. You pull it off well.
I do okay. And then some, I'm the only idiot who starts it during the summer and the hottest months. And the plan is to shave it this week. I take the week of vacation, and I normally like to do some really cool designs they won't let me on the air with. I have not been able to do that so far, but I'm taking any suggestions about any sort of designs, patterns, or funky things to do with the beard. But it's got to go. Food is starting to get caught in it, so it's time to go.
So, I don't know if you're a championship wrestling fan from back in the day, but the Harley race where it comes down and you lose it here and it just comes down and it comes up around your mustache. That was an old Harley race. He was the big NWA champion.
Right.
So and he was a legit tough guy. So that could be would you maybe consider that you lose this part down here?
Yeah.
And you come down with the mutton chops so they connect up to the mustache.
Yeah. I believe I've done that once already. It's the old Burnside. General Burnside used to do the same thing. So I've done a lot of those. Yeah, I did lightning bolts. Was it last year or 2 years ago? This year I was thinking of doing like football designs. I don't know. Part of it is it takes time, right? The reason I start to grow the beard is you have to start. That's because as much work as shaving it. So we'll see. Inspiration will hit me at some point this week.
I am extremely lazy with the shaving, so that's the only reason I have this sort of disheveled looking facial hair. And I when I get the haircut now, I just have them do it. I pay enough to get them to kind of do some stuff.
Oh, you're big time. You get the straight razor cut?
Oh no, I'm not that courageous. But look, that Radio Skrilla, that's some major stuff right there, as you know, Brian. The great Brian North, WCTI 12. He's a news guy now. How's the news biz? Are you liking getting up in the middle of the night and doing news in the morning? You're great at it.
Well, I appreciate that. I don't think anybody likes getting up that early. I mean, it's just one of the hazards of the job. But on the flip side, the good part is I'm done early and I get to spend more time with the kids in the afternoon, get some stuff done. So, no, I've enjoyed it. We've got a good morning crew that we like. We like to be around. We have some fun. We're always trying to get better. I still get to dabble in sports. We do sports in the morning again. We didn't do it for, 15 years. And when I moved there, we brought it back. So that keeps me involved in it and fun. And we try to keep it fresh and updated. Where a lot of other people record their sports from the night before, I can do fresh stuff in the morning. And so that gives us an advantage and keeps me involved. And so, no, I've enjoyed it. I mean, I did it for family reasons and the opportunity presented itself and it's worked out great. I have zero regrets. Not looking back, still get to do Friday night football. Kids are older this year, so I might be able to get out and do a few more Saturdays this year. So still involved in the sports stuff, and that was important to me.
How is fatherhood? You got two daughters, which is some divine payback from the good Lord against you in some ways. But they're just adorable kids. I love catching up with it on social media. But how's the fatherhood thing going?
It's great. They're terrorists. I call them the terrorists. They are wide open. You are correct. It is payback for a lot of things in my life, including probably how I was as a child, because they don't stop. I mean, people, you run them out. That's good. They'll be tired. No, they don't ever get tired. They just keep going. And now it's a fight at night to try to get them to bed. The 3-year-old is going on 13 and wants to stay up as late as possible. And every night it's negotiations and challenges of trying to get her to bed. And so it's a lot of payback there, because now being, the guy whose alarm goes off at 2:20, her getting to bed is important to me. So it's a high stakes negotiation. So it's a challenge every day. They make me laugh like I've never laughed, but they certainly will challenge you as well. So the highest of highs and the lowest of lows, as any parent will tell you. But I wouldn't trade it. I'm glad I waited. For me personally, no way I could have done this younger. Social services would have been at my house every week. So I'm glad I waited, and it's been worth it for me.
My brother, who's a couple years younger than I am, has a now 7-year-old and a 4-year-old. And in some ways he's like you, but in other ways he's like, because look, we're not young anymore. He said, there's no way I could have any more, because it's you reach a certain age with the infant stage. It's tough.
Yes.
Hey, let me ask you this. Are they they're just too young to take any interest in sports, I guess. But what are they kind of interested in?
Yeah, so I think they're both athletic. They run. I mean, they're fast for young little girls. They get around now. So there's some athletic prowess there.
All right.
We haven't really got into a lot of sports. We do have a little basketball hoop, and occasionally, they'll pull that out and they'll shoot at the hoop a little bit. They've hit some softballs around or the wiffle balls a little bit, but mostly they're just into running, having fun. They love Paw Patrol. They like dressing up as princesses. They like riding around in their cars. They are so competitive. I jokingly told my wife, I said, I'm going to start calling him Michael Jordan. The legendary story of Michael Jordan's dad would ignore Michael or tell him he wasn't as good as his brothers, and that created his legendary competitiveness. So every time one beats the other, I call him Michael Jordan. Do better next time, Michael Jordan. But it's kind of backfiring because they become so competitive now. They race for everything. They want to be first at everything. So I've got a couple competitors in my household, which is going to be interesting as they get older. So there's something there, but we just haven't forced the sports on them yet. I want them to play golf because golf gets scholarships, and golf is the one female sport that I know they can make where you can make money. So I will be pushing them towards golf. Whether they have the patience for it, that's a whole other thing, or the aptitude. But that's my plan. That's my retirement plan right now. Is they will be on the LPGA tour in about 15 to 20 years.
Of my sister, you may have even covered her, but I always thought if she had stuck to gotten into golf early and done it,
right.
She's really good now. I mean, she can play. She probably would have been able to play professionally because of her athleticism. Let me ask you this: what 25th year now covering sports in ENC, or covering the sports at least, right?
Yeah, my 24-year anniversary will be September 7th, so that means this will be my 25th year of high school and college football coverage. So yeah, quarter century here in Eastern North Carolina covering sports.
Dorky question, biggest thing that stands out from all of that? Just the big stuff. I know from the news standpoint, all the hurricanes and the flooding of the TV station and all that's probably the big TV story. And I mean, you worked with the legendary Skip Waters, and I know that was quite a relationship, and you worked with some other great legends, but just what is the sports side of this in 25 years? That's the thing that just stands out.
Yeah. I think what happens when you live a long time, some of the earliest stuff is usually the most impressionable and still kind of stands out. 1999 Hurricane Floyd, when it hit, that ECU versus Miami game at NC State will always be special to me because of everything that was happening around Eastern North Carolina with the flooding, the team getting stuck in South Carolina, having to play at NC State, being down 21-3 at the half, 24-3 at one point, coming back and winning, tearing the goalpost down, full moon, the just unbridled celebration by the fans and the players for everything they had been through. That's just one of those games that just still I get, what Ruffin McNeil say, I got goosebumps. You can't fake that. You get goosebumps every time I think about that game. That was that one transcended sports, and that one meant a little bit more to a lot of people. So that's one that always comes up. I was there when Dale Earnhardt died at Daytona 500. I covered Payne Stewart at the U.S. Open a couple months before he died. So all that stuff was early on, but was so impressionable. Those first couple of years of local sports was still really important back then. We didn't have the cell phone video. Internet was still in its infancy. So local sports really still kind of was the appointment television and go-to deal back then. All the state championships in football and basketball I've covered through the years have been important, but that 99 game between ECU and Miami was just something different and special.
You said to me once that you'll be seeing this, they'll be playing this for decades, and that was you interviewing Tiger, and that was kind of something they used. So you got to talk to Tiger early on, right there in New Bern.
So, and 2000 or 2001 when Curtis Strange had his 10th and final charity tournament, he blew it out, right? Tiger, Justin Leonard, and David Faraday, he all invited to the Emerald in New Bern. And this is when Tiger was in the middle of his Tiger Slam. He'd won the 3 majors. And in fact, the day before he flew to New Bern, he won the Canadian Open, and he had one of the most incredible shots of his career. I think it was on 16. He went over like 2 sets of trees and landed next to the pin to go ahead. So he won the Canadian Open, flew down here, and then he was hanging out, and he set the course record at the Emerald in New Bern without even seeing the course. He just went out and played it. It was an unofficial record.
Yeah.
But he still holds the course record there of a place. And again, he just played at a Canadian Open and flew down here. So no, he was at the height of his career then, and got to interview him. And he was 25, I think, then. He was still a little young, and he had just been burned by GQ he let them have all access, and they published some of the off-color jokes that he told, and he felt like it sabotaged his character. So he was in media shutdown mode. So it was tough to get close to him, but he was good. He was gracious, and he helped us out. I remember David Faraday because this was in David's drinking days, heavy drinking days. And he was drinking all day at the course, and I made the mistake of trying to get him live with me at the 5:30.
Ooh.
Oh, the FCC was called. They were on the hot button, man. He was dropping words that aren't allowed on TV, but he was hilarious. But yeah, when the filter went away quickly when David got imbibing. So I always remember that because I'm like, man, I'm gonna get fired because of David Faraday telling his off-color jokes with 4-letter words you're not supposed to use.
Could you imagine being a guy that just moved to the area like so many people have, and you like golf, and you go out and you just look up, and you're gonna go play the Emerald, and I wonder what the record is, because you might be a pretty good golfer, and you see Tiger Woods there. That's just
right. A lot of people
idea.
don't know it. It's funny how when you've been here a while, and there's these young kids who think they know everything coming through. And I was talking with them one day, and I'm like, yeah, Tiger holds the record. Like, what? What was Tiger? They had no clue that it even existed. They tried to YouTube it. It's amazing if it's not right there on your phone telling you. You don't think it ever existed. But yeah, it was New Bern in eastern North Carolina. I knew nothing about this place when I arrived here 24 years ago, and the sports knowledge, history, athletes that happens around here, it's absolutely amazing. And now it seems like everything that ever happens is somehow connected to eastern North Carolina or North Carolina. The big telescope they just put up, the Webb telescope. The guy was a UNC grad and from Oxford. He's got a school named after him. I'm like, There we go again. The list goes on and on and on. It's just Ariel Epstein's texting me all the time. Everywhere she goes, she's running into somebody with some sort of eastern North Carolina connection. It's just amazing the threads that go through here, especially athletically.
And then there she is. 2 or 3 years ago, she's on the set of the Blitz.
Yeah.
And now she's on MLB and in Las Vegas. And I mean, what a career she's kind of found. She found a niche and she's taking advantage of it.
Well, when I hired her, and this is one of the few times they actually let me do my own hiring, and I saw the work ethic, I saw the potential. She came here. She didn't always necessarily like everything, but she did it. She was a hard worker. And then when her contract was up here and she was trying to figure out what to do next, it didn't fall right in her lap. It took her a while, but she kept doing the right things. This is what I tell people all the time. If you work hard, make the right decisions, eventually something good will happen to you. And that's what happened to her. And now she's found that niche. She knew nothing about gambling. She had no idea. She'd never gone, sat at a blackjack table. She'd never been to a sports book. She knew nothing about gambling. So she's had to learn all this stuff. And she's done so very quickly on the job. She was always a numbers person. Even when she was working for us, she was always big into statistics and numbers. And that is really, she's just fallen right into a perfect spot for her. If anything, now she just has too much time in her hands, right? She's traveling around, vacationing. She's always been a hard worker. So for her, she's working as little as she ever has, which is good and bad, but she's getting to travel and do all the things she's wanted to do. So she's fallen into it. I'm proud of her. But it all goes back to hard work, right attitude, and doing the right things in life. And so that's all I ever ask for somebody. You work hard, I'll find a place for you.
Brian North, WCTI 12. It is a new season of the Blitz.
Yeah.
Coming to Channel 12. Give us the time and the rundown and for you, just first of all, the time and where folks can find it.
So, as always, we're trying to expand our coverage. And so it actually will be starting on Thursday nights on Fox at 10. We'll have a Blitz preview. Same thing Friday morning. More previews at the 6 o'clock. And then we do what we call a Blitz pregame on our Fox show at around 10:50. It'll be 1 or 2 games that we'll give you an appetizer. And then over on the ABC side, Friday nights, about 11:10 is when we start. And it'll be me on the set. We've got Brett Kennedy out in the field covering games and interviewing our big coaching team. And so, same old highlights. We usually cover more games than everybody else. We try to have some fun and give you some knowledge you can't find anywhere else, not to denigrate anybody else. All the other high school shows are great in their own mindset. We just try to have our own little unique style and try to give you something you can't find anyplace else. That's our goal every year. Whether we accomplish it or not, I don't know, but we're going to try again here for year number 25.
Well, I'll say this, and again, people get a little sensitive over this, but it is, in my mind, the best one. I think you do the best job, and I even put that up there with the institution of WRAL's thing. Yeah. I think for your resources and for the time they allot you,
Yeah. Right.
And so I think it's cool that it's expanding. Do you get, I mean, I've done this a gazillion times, and this is going to seem odd, North, but if I go to a college game, football or basketball, I'm less anxious or nervous maybe than I am for the high school, even though I've done the high school games literally my entire career.
Yeah.
If I go to a high school game, I still have a little different energy and nerves to it. So I don't know if it's what that is, but do you still get that, or have you done it so much? I'm confident in what I'm about to do, but there's just a different nervousness and energy early on.
My nervousness from that just comes in is everybody else doing their job.
Yeah.
You put so much effort into planning it, and then you have to rely on other people to get to their games on time, get the highlights, get the story. I mean, we get invested in the storyline, and okay, the games we're at, we can get that. But we're relying on some people who don't even know football to tell us if a key player got hurt or if there was a key moment in the game, or are they just going to show us a highlight? You know, when we talk about trying to be different, everybody can just look at Jimmy Smith running 10 yards for a touchdown. It's, do you know that Jimmy was adopted or from Kansas or a transfer from Oklahoma, or that his mom's battling cancer? We're always looking for those little stories. So my anxiety comes from hoping that our crew will spot those things and I don't see it on another station or read about it later when we could have had the story that night. So my anxiety comes from wanting to put on the best performance, get the best information out there, give you a reason not to change the channel. I know a lot of people do, they're flipping around, but we want to give you a reason to not change the channel. And so it's the nervousness just comes from the preparation, and you hope it all comes out at the end.
And it never goes away. That's the thing.
No.
Never goes away.
No.
Brian North is with us here. The Blitz, a new season on WCTI 12 around 11:10, and then Fox Eastern North Carolina's got a preview, and they got a Thursday night deal now. So it's a whole thing with North.
It's a whole thing.
It's a whole thing. Good, because look, there's a time, as you said, the sports guy in the local market was the man or the woman, but the man, and you know that went away. And it seems like now it's coming back, which is a good thing. And now you're having to do it's a better mousetrap, maybe not, but you've had to at least rebuild the mousetrap a little.
It's a different mousetrap. Newspapers have been a big difference, right? Everybody could go and read the newspaper the next day. Okay, we could get you the highlights, but you could get all the good facts the next day in the newspaper. Can't find that stuff anymore. And most newspapers, even when they go to the web version, will tell you game stories don't get many clicks. So it's getting harder and harder to find some of that information out there, which makes it more important for what we do on Friday nights. And then, of course, we go on social media and online, and you can find it for days afterwards. But the dynamic has changed quite a bit. And so, yeah. And look, if we can do previews, it all comes down to sponsors. And we're lucky to have a lot of sponsors this year that want to be on the ride with us. And because money, it's still a for-profit business, and money's important. And if there are people who want to pay money for the coverage, we get to expand our coverage.
Let me ask you who you like. Who are the teams to keep an eye on this year?
Yeah, so New Bern looks loaded. New Bern's got a team that could contend for the 4A title. All those guys who have were freshmen, sophomores coming up through. KJ Sampson, who is committed to Florida State but is still getting offers everywhere. Aaron Herring, who could explode this year and get a lot. ECU's offered him. And they've got Dylan Wagner. They've got a bunch of just talented guys. So New Bern, if they can play some pass defense when it comes to the playoffs, that's what's killed them the last couple of years. Second and third round of the playoffs, they get against a pass-heavy team that they don't really see much during the regular season, and that's got them. But the talent is there for New Bern. Havelock could be between Havelock and 71st in 3A, but Havelock's loaded. They've got Javante Vereen, who's committed to NC State. Andrew Frazier, who is a quarterback but will probably play safety in college. He is going to be great this year. Rose is. I thought Rose may have lost a lot, but talking with Will Bland, Rose is going to be better than I thought. Jacksonville is always good. So that Carolina, that big Carolina 4A, 3A conference is just the top heavy again with what they have. And D.H. Conley with Isaiah Crumpler, another Crumpler coming through. That's an amazing story. Carl Lester, who was playing high school football before I was born.
Yeah.
And then in the NFL when I was an infant, had two sons who already played and retired from the NFL. Now has another son coming up through who has NFL potential. It's just a nutty, crazy story. But Isaiah and D.H. Conley could be pretty good. Washington has got a good program there going with Perry Owens. So Kinston, I think, is going to be decent. Wallace Rose Hill and East Duplin are two teams that are getting a lot of love. East Duplin Did I see something about you and Cade Kennedy are like best friends now?
Well, we're neighbors. We're beach
Yeah,
neighbors. Yeah.
yeah, interesting. So, but he and East Duplin, they look loaded again with Battle Holly as their head coach. So, a lot of good top end football teams, I think, contending to make deep playoff runs this year.
Cade Kennedy, by the way, one of those undersung guys, should probably
Yeah.
be getting recruited at a higher level than
Yeah.
what he
Well,
is. I like the Big Carolina 3A, 4A. I think that
Mhm.
makes so much sense. That's one thing that Chapel Hill got right. I hope it stays in its carnation. I know the Jacksonville people and the Northside people may not be totally wild about it,
yeah.
but I mean, to me, it makes sense because it seems like you've got the big schools in these communities playing each other.
So it's always been hard for New Bern and whatever Greenville school is 4A, whether that's Conley or South Central or Rose. It seems to rotate now. But it's always hard because there's no other 4A schools for them to team up with. You either have to go to Raleigh, which with the bypasses may not be as bad, or you got to go to Wilmington, and they've done that. That's never been fun for anybody. But the 3A schools really don't always like competing with New Bern in certain sports, baseball and football being two of them. Basketball, they haven't been good, so they don't mind them. But it becomes this competitive issue of who has more and is it fair, blah, 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 the whole fairness issue thing. So it's been a debate in my 25 years here of where do you stick the 4A schools? What do you do with them? Regional rivalries seem to make sense when they're in the same conference with Havelock and West Craven, although West Craven is too small to be in that conference now, but in the past they used to be. And the Greenville schools and the Jacksonville schools, I've thought it's always made sense. Greenville and Jacksonville is maybe a little bit tougher, but Jacksonville I love Jacksonville in that conference with where they are now, basketball, baseball, and football wise. I think it's a great conference.
When you get your clout and weight behind getting 43 squared away, it'll be an easy trip, New Bern to or Jacksonville. It'll be
I have so many I have so many back roads. We call it the wormhole because in a wormhole you can make up time, if you know what I'm saying. And law enforcement friends out there, you don't have to go that way on Friday nights if you don't want to. But yeah, there's wormholes out there. There's ways. But I wanted to do one of those social media posts of, this is what it was when I got here. This is what it is now. Every road was like 2-lane when I got here, except for 70 and 64 and 260. 64 was just being made into 4-lane. 55 wasn't even close. So it's what they've done to the roadways around here with the bypasses around Wilson and Goldsboro, Nightdale. It's been great for sportscasters trying to get to and from games. I don't complain about the bypasses anymore.
The other conference that makes a lot of sense to me now is the EPC. They've gotten that one right too, I think, with the 3 Pitt County and Washington and Green Central and West Craven's a little bit of an outlier, but you got to stick them somewhere. I think philosophically that school lines up well with the other. So there's another conference that's in our local area they got right.
Yeah, and it's always been good. Before that, it was even better because it was all the Lenore County teams and Green Central and maybe some Wayne County teams. So they're all right there. They didn't have to travel much. And it's the same deal. It's a little bit different, but it's the same deal. Now, there's always going to be good conference fits for some schools and then bad for others. It's never going to be right for everyone, and that's the hard part. Where I grew up, we never changed the conferences. It didn't matter what the size of your school, you played people in your region. So it's always taken me a while to figure out this whole, we want to play somebody our size and we don't mind having to travel all the way to Wilmington to do it. It's never made sense to me. But, I felt like I went back in time with the NCHSAA when I moved here 25 years ago, and they're still trying to play catch up to things that were being done in Virginia and New York 25 years ago.
All right, I got 2 little just bonus quick hit things here for you. Sure. What is the big because you follow high school sports very, very well and do it in an intelligent way. So for that overall enterprise, what's their big challenge moving ahead? Now, if you ask somebody like outgoing Ron Butler or a county AD or something, they're going to give you some answer. And I'm not knocking Ron, but they're going to give you some kind of canned, initiative du jour answer. But you're like me. We're on the ground with these people. So what's the big challenge in your mind for that enterprise?
Well, for football, I think it's numbers. I think we've seen declining participation numbers in football for a while, especially at the non-traditional schools. You get the schools that are embedded in football in Duplin County. I mean, that's what they do. Even in Craven County, but Craven County numbers are down. I just think it's the overall decline in football participation with for some good reasons, right? The injury factor that's out there, the head issues that have been there for years. There was a second impact concussion issue for a while with the young man from JH Rose. So there's some of those fears out there, but it's reduced the enrollment for football for the number of people playing. And so I think that's one of the biggest issues moving forward is looking at how do you keep enrollment up? How do you keep it up in the youth leagues while also staying safe? I mean, safety is the number one key. You don't want kids to be dealing with these injuries. So it's how do you practice? How do you have full contact? But how do you avoid injuries? How do you avoid overuse injuries? So it's a constant development that coaches and players are going through, and that goes down to participation. And you don't want to overuse kids. You don't want them. There's been a real big push lately to not have year-round athletes, right? You want guys to do other sports because it's good for cross-training and it's good for your mind and mental health and all those other things. But football is a grind, and so the declining participation numbers to me are the long-range issue that they have to look at.
I've always been friendly and friends with Cy Seymour. I've now worked with him more closely in the last year, and it's funny, you know. I mean, I have a dad that's around this age. I have Henry I'm on with at the morning who's of this age. I have so all my buddies are all like near 70.
You're the young guy at the old man coffee shop hanging out.
Yeah, exactly. So let me ask you this. Give me a good Cy Seymour story.
Oh my God. Well, I remember Cy Seymour when he was when I first moved here. He had just finished up at Craven Community College. He was a great basketball coach, right? He had that program. They were one of the top JUCO programs in the state. He was just starting his tenure with ECU as their color commentator. So anytime we call Cy and needed to do a live shot, he was right there. He is probably the friendliest, most wonderful human being. I can remember going, you know, I've been known to just sporadically get in the car and go somewhere to cover something. And so when ECU was playing in the Conference USA tournament in Cincinnati, I just got in the car one night and drove up there to go cover it, and I needed somebody to interview, and Cy was right there. So he's always been Mr. Reliable, the nicest human being ever. And it's not just in ECU circles, but Craven County circles. Everybody knows Cy or knows where he is. He shows up to high school games all the time. He's had his heart issues through the years, and we're so happy that he's still around and changed his lifestyle to be there. But, you know, his sons, he's got two great sons. So just a great family man, just a great example of, I don't know if there's one story that stands out outside of when you call, Cy will answer, and he is Mr. Reliable, and he will not sugarcoat it. He'll give you everything you need. Sometimes I wish he were more negative, right? Cy is Mr. Positivity and always spinning a positive side of it. That's the only, but he is one of the greatest human beings you'll ever know.
And I'll say this about Cy too. I mean, if you need to get something done in Craven County, just drop Cy's name and you're fine.
Yeah.
You're fine.
Yeah. The influence he has is amazing. It just, and everybody, he talks to everybody. He's got everybody's phone number. I get these random texts from Cy, just, you know, happy Thanksgiving, happy birthday. You know, he's that great communicator.
All right, coming up, it is the Blitz, a new season starting with our pal Brian North from WCTI 12. He's a news stiff now, but he still gets fired up for the Blitz. And check him out on Channel 12, 11:10 as the football season kicks off and the Blitz kicks off.
If I can stay awake. Those Fridays are a challenge now. Those Fridays are a challenge.
When do you sleep? I don't know. I don't know.
So on Fridays, I'm supposed to go home after I get done anchoring, take the kids to daycare, and then take a good long nap. But last year, I was on the phone all morning long trying to figure out who would play because of COVID, right? Games were getting canceled and rescheduled right up until noon on Fridays. So, but the plan is to go home and take a good, healthy nap on Fridays.
All right. I hope you do. And we'll talk to you soon.
All right. Thank you, Patrick.